And we're not going to have the Monday blues. No siree. Welcome to Designing with Deb. I'm Deb Floros. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us here at artbeads.com. The weekend is over. The week is starting, but I'm hoping that today is just going to be the start of a very busy designing and jewelry making week for you. We've got a lot of things going on here to help you do that. So I'm hoping that maybe today we can get started with doing something fun. Hi, Diane. Thank you so much. I went straight today, giving my curling iron a little bit of a break. It works hard to make this straight hair curly. So yes, I'm going for the straight look today, and being a little more serious on a Monday. No, we're not being serious today. I'm so glad that you all are joining me. Last week on my show, we did some really fun stuff with chip and nugget beads, and we elevated our designs using those bead types. Hello, Sharon. So this week we're going to do something really different, but I think I've described that my show is really going to be about design. So putting things together, talking about proportion and dimension and color, shapes, sizes, all of those things. And I've got a really fun, hi there. I've got a really fun way to help you out of a little bit of a jam, or just to create a really fun and different focal for your necklace. Carol Ann, hi y'all from South Jersey. Hi y'all, Carol Ann. And Deanna Weaver's here. Hello from North Carolina. I hope all of you have what's starting to look like spring weather. We have a little bit of spring starting here, but we've been in this pattern of rain, which we don't often get in Arizona. So I'm happy to have a little bit of rain, but we've got sun this morning and it's so beautiful. Tammy from South Jersey, Janet, hi from California, Linda, hi from Kansas. Oh my gosh. Hello from Houston. Hi, Linda. Wow, so we've got people from all over. So I'm so excited to have you all here. So let's talk about Angela from Michigan. Oh, let's stop and see. We got Michigan, we've got Ohio. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Angela. Mary B from Virginia. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. That's great. Looking forward to this. That's awesome. Flowers blooming here in Georgia. That's awesome. I love when the flowers start to bloom. We get blooms on cactus here, and maybe I can share some photos of those with you guys when it starts, but we're probably a month and a half away from that. So hi, Sue in Wisconsin. So let's do housekeeping and then we can get started, because we've got a project today and it's going to be kind of fun. So for starters, if you're watching on artbeads.com/live, you're going to get the full immersive experience of this show. I love to say that. You can actually comment. So you'll see we've got some comments going here. So you can chat with me live, ask questions, tell me what you've got going on this week. Joan from Salem, Oregon. Hello, Joan. We've got lots of ways for you to interact with each other here. So it's all live, and you'll see some hearts on the screen. There's a little heart icon that you can click on and show me some love. So if you see something you like, you see a technique you like, maybe I say something silly, you can show me some love with hearts. The Art Beads designers love to see those hearts coming through as we're meeting with you guys and sharing our projects. So thank you for those hearts. I love it. You can also share the show with the arrow. So if you've got some jewelry making friends that you know are just itching to make something this morning, go ahead and share the show. And gosh, if you want to shop the show, you can do that here too. So you can click on that shopping bag and you'll see everything that I'm working with in the show today. From the beads to the tools to the bead mat, everything I'm working with. So Hi, Karen from Wisconsin, and Kat from Aurora, Colorado, and Scat from Iowa. Hello, you guys. So if you want to shop, you can do that, and I'll just get smaller on the screen. Smaller, you'll still hear me, and when you're ready to come back to the show, you can just click on my face, and I'll get back to normal size on the screen. If you're watching at Facebook or on YouTube, I won't be able to see your comments live, but I'm appreciative of you guys being there. And if you're on Facebook, you can actually add a code. So there'll be a code at the top of the screen. You can enter that code into the comments. It will bring you over to the products at artbeads.com, and you can sort of experience the same thing, but I just won't be able to see your comments live. Now, a couple more things before we get started. Today is the last day of a 25% off of seed beads, and I'm going to be working with some seed beads today, and they are some really beautiful ones you might want to have in your stash. So don't miss out on that opportunity. We've got a couple different ones in the show today, and also I'm taking a poll. This is an 8 a.m. show on the West Coast or in Pacific time zone. So if you feel like this is a little bit early, we just want to hear from you. So we're exploring some options. Do you like this show time? 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Would you like to go an hour later? 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Or would you like to go 3 hours later? 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So give me that in the comments before you leave the show today. I'd love to hear from you. We're just checking it out. We're exploring. We're going to see if this is a good time. I have coffee because it's 8 a.m. It helps me. So if you need some coffee or tea to get you going this morning, let's do it. Hello from Florida, Kelly. Thank you, Beverly. Yes, I did make my earrings. They are fun. Hi, Bridget and Mary Smith. Good morning. Martha Hafner. Good morning. Nancy. Good morning from Oregon. Thank you guys all for being here. So let's get started. I'm going to put the camera down to my mat, and you're going to see some really beautiful things. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful project. It's luminous. It's shiny. It's got a lot of gold vibes. So I'm going to kind of show you really quick what I'm going to work with. I'm going to work with these big chonky check beads. I would describe these as chonky because they are a big check bead, and they are kind of a squat shape, but they are so faceted. They've got a little bit of what they call a silver wash. I call this a light gold wash. I beg to differ. So I don't know. It could be either because it's metallic, and we're going to mix it with other metallics, so it's going to pop regardless. So these are beautiful. We're going to work with those. Then we're going to work with 2 different seed beads. And thank you guys for chiming in on the time. And good morning, Jan from Kentucky. So I've got a couple different seed beads, and these are 8-ohs. They are an incredible gold. These are the perfect seed beads to have in your arsenal. If you have these seed beads, you can do so many wonderful things with seed bead designs, but also with stringing designs, which is what we're going to do today. And then you're going to have to hang with me and trust me on this, you guys. These are 15-oh seed beads, and these are gorgeous. They are gold-lined crystals, so they match beautifully with what we've got going here. So with these check beads, with these gold seed beads, trust me, this all plays together. And I know that 15-ohs are small. We're going to string them. If they're too scary for you, I get it. But trust me, if you invest in the time to string these, there's something magical about adding 15-ohs to your stringing designs. So I'll let you percolate on that a little bit. Then the star, one of the stars of the show is this incredible pendant. Oh my gosh. This is a prestige teardrop. It's a faceted teardrop pendant. It's 24 millimeters. It's like purple and teal, and it's silver backed. and it is a stunner. So we're going to work with this, but we're going to do something really interesting with it. Now, if you've watched me or followed me for any length of time, maybe know about my projects, maybe you've seen them in the design studio. I love daisy spacers. So I'm such a nerd. I love these little spacers. They do so many things. If I didn't have daisy spacers in my studio, I wouldn't be able to make jewelry. Like, it would just end right there. But these are so fun. We're going to use a few of these. You don't need a lot for this project. So, Kelly, wow. Yeah, great. And thank you guys for chiming in on the time. I appreciate it. So I'm going to move my beads out of the way for the moment because I want to talk about and show you what problem we're going to solve today. So this is a necklace that I made, and I got to show y'all the bling here. This is a necklace. The project is found in the design studio. And I gave a link to Eric for this project, so he can pop that in at some point to share it with you. I made this last year. And this is a super blingy, wild and crazy project. And I want to show you, first of all, what I did up here. So these are wood beads, believe it or not. They are Euro wood. They're available. And thank you, Mary Smith. The Euro wood is a product by John Bead. And what I did was added some Crystal Lane flatbacks and used some Crystal Lane glue to actually attach them to these wood beads. They just jumped onto those beads beautifully. I popped in some check glass and some seed beads, shockingly. And I just made just a really fun, wild and crazy, sparkly necklace. Now, here's where we're going to talk about the problem solving. So I don't know if anybody else does this. Maybe it's just me. But when I was picking out my goodies for this project, this little crystal pendant caught my eye. It's hard to see this because it's clear. It's a faceted crystal. It's a very long design, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And it caught my attention, and I just thought, oh, wow, this is going to look so great with the flatbacks and all the check glass and the seed beads. And I don't know, maybe it was just my mind's eye playing tricks on me. In my mind's eye, this was a much bigger pendant. It was really big. But you know what? When I got it, it was really small. And not that it's any less beautiful. It just proportionately does not go with the size of these beads with these guys. I mean, look how big these are and look how small this looks. So, wah wah, I ordered a larger pendant, which then was too big for this project. So I decided, let's figure a way to make this work. So this is the focal section of our necklace. And I did a little bit of wire work, and I added some seed beads, and I added some of my blinged out beads. And now I have a really cool pendant that allowed me to still use that beautiful little crystal pendant. So we're going to do something like this today. So we're going to create a focal and solve that challenge of, oh my gosh, I ordered the wrong size pendant. Or it will allow you just to get a pendant and work with it and create a fun framing kind of thing. So, so this is what inspired the project today. I love this necklace. I'm actually gonna, I might put it on while I'm working on this one. Just pop it on in the background here, and that'll inspire me to keep this going. So I got started, guys, because this is a lot of stringing. So I got started, and I want to show you, we're using some 19 strand beading wire by Beadalon in the gold color. I think the gold looks lovely, but it certainly could be a different metallic. And I always start my projects, necklaces particularly, with seed beads. It's just a little bit of a lead in so that if you are using a toggle, you're not going to have a problem getting your toggle on. But I used a pattern of 8-0, 15-0, 8-0, 15-0, 8-0, 15-0, big bead. When I get into the between the beads, there's always a 15-0 right up next to our chunky bead. Now, I don't know if the camera is really showing how those 15-0s just kind of make this float. So I use a lot of 15-0s in my own designs. And what I find is people are often asking me, what is that? Is that a knot? Is it chain? What's going on there? Because those 15-0s create such an interesting illusion to your piece. So look, I've got these crystal beads. I've got the bright gold beads, and then I've got just a little something in between the gold that just makes those gold beads really stand out. So I love the look of that. If 15s are too much for you, I totally understand. You can always use 11s, or you can just use 8s if you feel good about that. There's lots of possibilities here. But I strung my first side of the necklace, and I'm just dying over the glimmer and the shimmer of these beads here. But I strung the first side of my necklace, and now I'm going to stop and set this aside, and we're going to create our focal. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with a little bit of 24 gauge wire. So I've got some artistic wire. I'm going to cut it from my spool. And here's what I did to the end of my wire so I'd actually be able to find the end. Yesterday, I popped in here and was getting my wire ready, and I just couldn't find the end of it. It was making me crazy. So I've got probably more wire than I need here. It's probably about 10 inches of wire. It's a beautiful gold tone. 24 gauge is really easy to work with. So I'm going to need some round nose pliers, and I'm going to need some chain nose pliers. So I've got these round nose Euro tools and these Xuron chain nose, these micro pliers. And I'm going to set those aside for a second. This is what we're going to do. We're going to start by wire wrapping our beautiful teardrop. Now, I am not the queen of wire wrapping, but this is a pretty simple little way you can create a bail and make your pendant look finished. So we're going to go and get this guy wire wrapped to start with. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to put it through the hole. And I'm going to bring the pendant down to not quite halfway. Well, actually, probably maybe just a little bit more than a third of the way down. And what I'm going to do is push those wires together. I want them to create a little bit of a crisscross at the top of my teardrop. And this is admittedly a little bit tricky, at least for me, maybe not for my wire working friends that really love to do that, and that's their go-to. But this is, for starters, how I get going. And hi, Deb, excited to see you. Hi, Becky and Desiree from New Bern, North Carolina. Can't wait to see your use of the 15s. Yes, we'll get to that for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna with somewhat of a death grip, hold on to my teardrop, and I'm going to take these wires and I'm going to twist them. And it's just going to be a little bit tough. I'm hoping I don't hit my camera, but I'm just creating a little bit of a twisted effect. It's easier when you've got your wires separated. So this is certainly not perfect, but I want a little bit of a twisty effect at the top of my bend here. And one thing you can do is you can come in and you can use your pliers to kind of get that wire to straighten out a little bit. So that's how I like to start this little bail piece. Now, we don't need a lot because we're going to be stringing this onto our stringing wire. So it's just, it's just a little bail, just a little kind of interesting little bail. So the first thing I want to do here, let me hold this up closer so you can see, it's just a little twisty. It's a little twisty. So I'm going to take my chain nose and I'm just going to get right to the base and I'm going to press this forward a little bit, just a touch. And then I'm going to pull my round nose pliers in and I'm going to come and we're going to take our time doing this. So I'm going to take my round nose and I'm kind of going higher up on the barrel there. And then I'm going to get a hold of the back here and I'm going to come around and I actually should have done this. I'm going to trim off my shorter wire. Sorry, I should have done that when it was straight. So trim off your shorter piece. And then I'm going to come around and I want to create a little bit of a loop up here. And so I'm going to do a little bit of manipulation there to get that to come around. And I actually need to trim off that little bit of excess. There we go. So I'm trying to create a little bit of a loop. And I can pull that back wire down. And now I've got a bit of a loop. So I'm going to then pull it close down to the top of my pendant and I pull this wire, the long wire, around. Now what I'm trying to achieve is a little bit of a bail. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to wrap it around. And what I want to do is take the wire down the pendant. So I want to get a nice little wrap and you want to go slow here. And this does not have to be perfect, guys. I am not a perfect wire wrapper by any means, but if I can do this, you can do it. So I'm getting my wire down and I want it to go just below my, just right around the hole of the bead, because that hole is visible in the front of your pendant. And then I'm going to push this up. You have, with this wire, with this 24 gauge wire, you have opportunity to manipulate it. So I'm going to pull that up, that end of my wire, I'm going to pull it up towards the top. And then grabbing this a little bit differently, I'm going to pull this around a couple of times. So I've got it ending up towards the top of that little bail. Not perfect, but it's not going to be very visible because we're going to draw the attention to the rest of the focal. This is just going to be part of it. So we've got our little wire wrapped beauty. This pendant is so great. Lois, thank you. Imperfections make it unique. I agree. I think that shows that you made something with love. Like you put a lot of heart and love into it. So little wrap, little fun little bail up there. And you can actually twist your wire, make more little twisty deals on your necklace or on your wire if you would like. So I'm going to pull my partially made necklace down and I've got my wire cut from, thank you for the hearts, guys. I've got my wire pulled, cut from the packaging, which I don't normally do, but for projects like this, I want to have it, available to me. So so I've ended on seed beads here, and I ended on an 8, and that's where I'd like to string this on. But before I do that, I have to do a little something else. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my beading wire again, and I'm going to, from the package, do a little bit of seed bead stringing. So I'm actually going to move this out of the way again. Move my pendant out of the way. So I've got my 8s, I've got my 15s, and I've got some daisy spacers. Now, on my necklace, let me show you this real quick. On my necklace, I added daisy spacers to my last 3 beads. So depending on how many daisy spacers you have that you picked up, you can put them around all of them. They just add a nice little extra touch. You can add them to all, or you can just do them to the lower section of your necklace so that you can start to add a little bit of flair towards the front. So I'm going to do a simple pattern of 8s and 15s. Trust me, the 15s are, once you get the hang of the feel of them, it's much harder to do this on camera, guys, but once you get the feel of it, you will really love working with them. You just have to have a little bit of patience. So I've got my little pattern here, and then I'm doing the same pattern I've been doing. So 3 seed beads, or 3 8/0 seed beads, 3 15s, and then I'm going to introduce one of my daisy spacers. Let me move these slightly out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put that daisy spacer on, then we're adding our 15, our 8. I love 8s as well as spacers. So 8s are a nice substantive bead. They're a good size bead for a spacer. So I'm really an advocate of seed beads for stringing, because they also go a long way. So you can get them, and you can get a lot of value in purchasing your seed beads. So I'm going to add another daisy spacer, and then we're going to keep going. So I've gotten really accustomed to working with 15s. I can do it by feel. I can't necessarily see them as good as I can feel them. So, yeah, so trust me, you can get used to it. And if you like to pick up seed beads, with your wire on your mat, you could certainly do that as well. I'm not good at that. I find that I end up flicking the beads everywhere, and it's just not good. So I string them because I am a stringer at heart. So I'm just stringing those guys on, and I'm creating, what we're doing here is creating our little loop. So our little frame for our wire wrap pendant. And that pendant is going to be center stage of our focal, but we're making a little frame for it so that it substantively, proportionately will look correct. So so here's something you should do, because you may not be working with this exact pendant. So have your pendant handy, and make sure that if you're making a frame like this, that you are able to, get enough beads around it and have some space in between your frame and your pendant. So you want your pendant to have a little bit of room to be center stage in that frame. So I like to keep my pendant handy so I can see how big it is. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. And I hope that you guys are all getting out your beads and thinking about what you might be making. Maybe you're going over to shop a little bit, check out what's in the show a little bit. So here's another. So I'm going to create, let's see. I'm going to create, well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm going to do 2 more sections. I think that's what I need for this one. And if you're working with your own pendant, or a different size pendant, you can, just keep your pendant close so you can check the sizing and check how many sections you actually need to make this happen. So I'm going to show you again how you would check it. So you just kind of pull your wire. So I definitely need at least 1 more section to get me a nice frame. And I love these beads. I mean, all of the beads in this project are so shiny and bright. This really works for any season. Like these brights will brighten you up in the darker months and just kind of reflect the sun in the summer months. So let's see. How are we doing? I think I need 1 more. I think I need 1 more section. So I'm going to grab that little seed bead on the mat. It's probably hard for you to see those tiny little seed beads. But trust me, they're there. They're magical little things. They're there. And I hope you guys are still with me. We're just stringing on our last section. I think it's going to be our last section of our frame. And getting those beads on. So let's see how this looks. I think I might add, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a couple of beads to either end of my frame. So up top, so I'm going to cut and I'm going to grab some bead stoppers. These are your best friend for stringing projects for sure. So I'm going to cut my wire. I'm going to cut more than I need for today's purpose. And over here, I ended on an 8/0. So I'm going to add another 15 and another 8. And then I'm going to take another bead stopper. I'm going to put that on over here. And then I'm going to put my pendant here. And I feel like that's going to be just right. So I've got a seed bead over here. Add that guy. So I think, guys, that's going to work. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to set my pendant aside. And all we're going to do with this is create like a little mini crimped necklace. Like we're gonna just grab some crimps. So I'm gonna use some size 2 beadalon crimps. You can get those in a 4-pack, different colors of metal. These are gold, so they're gonna work great to kind of tie back to my project here. And I'm going to put my crimp at the end. I'm going to go back down through my crimp and through that first 8/0. You won't be able to get this wire through a 15. So you definitely want to end on an 8 so that you can crimp this nicely. So I'm just keeping a very small loop. We're going to string this onto our necklace. So I'm going to crimp just like I would crimp anything else. Nothing special. Just want to make sure you get your crimp right and then cut off your excess. And then, now whenever you're crimping, you don't want to crimp in a straight line. This is a little hard to not crimp in a straight line because it is a small section of wire. But we're going to do that. Got the crimp on. We're going to take our crimp back through the crimp tube and through that first 8/0 here. And I'm going to pull this down, and I want to make sure I've got that as rounded as possible there. And then, thank you for the hearts. Then match up my loops, and we're going to crimp up here. Get my crimper in there. So we're just going to crimp just like we normally would. Got my crimp. I'm going to take my excess wire off. And now, look, we have the tiniest little necklace ever made. So lots of things you could do with this. So now we have our little bead frame. So here's where we're going to do a little bit more designing, and I'm going to get my seed beads out of the way for the moment so that I don't spray them all over. I did dump a little tray full of jump rings on the floor this morning, and they're still there. I have to clean those up after the show. I hate when that happens. All right, so I've got on this side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of these large beads. And to make sure that my frame is going to sit in the right place, I want to actually put it in this section here at the end of the last bead. So I've got 3 here. I'm going to take 1 off. So I'm going to take 1 8 off and 1 15 off, and then the next 8. And I've just got a, in this pattern, a 15, an 8, and a 15. And then I'm going to string on my first loop of my little frame piece. I'm going to grab another 15 that I took off and one of the 8s that I took off. String that on, and we've got a framed up first half of our frame. So the little loop is framed by seed beads. Then what I want to do is add, I'm going to bring my seed beads back over into my reach, and I'm going to put another 15 here. And I know that I did a few beads across before I added my pendant on. So remember, we still have our little wire wrapped, beautiful prestige crystal. So we're gonna get that centered here. So this might take a little bit of work for you to figure out kind of the right placement of your pendant. So you might need to finagle a little bit, because what I want here is continuity of beads and this guy and then my frame. So I've got 3 beads on here. I think I'm going to need at least 1 more. So depending on the pendant you're working with, you know, if you're making this exact project, you can do exactly what I'm doing. But if you're making with a different pendant, you might have to go a little bit, you might have to test out different configurations as you go. So I've got 4 beads there. I think I'm going to add 4 more. So I'm going to add another 15. Sorry for my reach, guys. I probably should move my beads over to the other side here. So let me get my 15 on and an 8 and pull those over. These little 15s are so beautiful and mighty. They're powerful for such tiny beads. They're adding such cool dimension, adding a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of magic to this piece. Sometimes I pick up more than one in case I drop one, because I have been known to drop them or fling them across the room. Oops. It's hard to do this on camera, guys. It really is. Okay, so now I've got a little framed section. See that there? Then I'm going to, pull on my other side. Actually, I need a 15 at the end there. So I'm going to pull on my little loop over here. Now this is going to want to do its own thing because it's such a small piece of wire. It's going to want to do its own thing. Now I'm actually thinking, now that I see this like this, I want to take out one of the seed beads on either side. So that's what we're going to do. I think I like 3 in there instead. So even though I did plan this project out, it's sometimes when you do your wire wrapping of your pendant and everything, it can vary. And so your sizing might be a little bit different. So that's why it's important to, even though you may have a pattern in mind or a specific tutorial on what to do, it's always good to double check your pattern and your pieces to make sure that they actually fit nicely with your design. Okay. All right. Now putting the loop back on over here. I like that better. I like that much better. So look at how that frames up that beautiful pendant. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, that's perfect. And you see I've got a little bit of space around it. So it's making this pendant more prominent. So this pendant all by itself, too small to just sit by itself in between these big chunky beads. They just are too big proportionately for this pendant. So now we're making our pendant bigger by adding a frame. So that's what we've done here. And I think it's a little bit magical. Now, maybe I'm the only one that finds themselves having issues with pendant size, but trust me, sometimes that's going to happen. So I'm going to slide my necklace, all my pieces down so that I can actually string the other side here. Now this is not as exciting, but I want to show you how when you're working with this little pendant piece, it's going to want to move. You don't need to worry about that because we're gonna make sure that doesn't move going forward. So we're gonna start stringing on our beads and creating that pattern that we started with. So we're just doing the same thing up the other side of our necklace. It's actually added one too many beads here. So right on the other side of your little pendant piece, you're just going to put 1/8 and 1/15 and then grab your beautiful chonky check glass. Oh, I love this check glass. It is absolutely stunning. I typically think, I don't know, maybe you guys experience this too. I think of check as being a smaller bead. Like I use them in smaller applications. And when I find a big check bead, I get so excited. Like, oh my gosh, look at these fun big check beads. So pretty. So I hope that you guys will look for the bigger ones, not be afraid of the big beads. I used to be known for making with big beads. That was my gig. when I used to go to the bead shop where I learned how to make jewelry, they would always say, Deb, we got more big beads in. And I would run over and see the latest big bead acquisitions that they had and fill up my shopping cart with the big beads. So that was always fun for me. And I think big beads are a little more out, but I would love to bring them back. Let's bring back the big beads, people. Let's make it an Art Beaters mission to bring the big beads back. What do you guys think about that? You guys work with big beads? Who's working with big beads? I know there's a lot of seed beaders out there, but hey, look, we're working with seed beads today too. Seed beads and big beads. Yes. So if you joined us mid-show, guys, I had a question for you at the beginning of the show. I asked if you like the time of this show, if 8 a.m. Pacific time is a good time for you. We're just trying to understand if maybe we want to adjust a time at some point. So would 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 Eastern continue to work for you? Would you like 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern? Or would you like to go all the way to 11 Pacific time, 2 Eastern? So let me know in the comments what you think about that. And we don't really have another show that's early like this. So maybe this is a good time. You can join for some coffee, tea, just some avocado toast, and we can design some jewelry together. I'm up for whatever time you guys want to hang out. So you tell me, Art Beaters, what you're thinking. So I'm just stringing now. So something I want to just comment on is I know some people will often say, oh, it's just stringing. It's just a stringing project. Well, I like to say that stringing projects can be challenging and they can have all different parts and pieces, and you can bring in other techniques as part of your design. So I would like for you guys not to think that it's just stringing, because we did a little bit of wire work today. We added a little bit of fun with seed beads, and we added seed beads to the equation. And believe it or not, like this project requires like 4 tools. So it's not like a simple project, but if you can string, you can definitely make this piece, and you can take maybe your stringing to the next level. And that's what I like to do, is I like to take my design, my stringing designs, and move them up a level. So I need to adjust my wire a little bit. So I'm holding it up and allowing gravity to help me out. And now I've got more space up top here. So we're almost there, guys, to the stringing part of this. So that's one thing about making a project like this on camera, is there's a lot of bead stringing going on. So yes, it's just a stringing project, but there's a lot of beads here to string on. So I thank you for hanging with me to do all this fun stringing. I love it. I'm just a stringing queen. I love the Zen aspect of putting beads on string. What do you guys think about stringing? Is that something you love to do? And is it your main go-to for making jewelry? You tell me. What do you like to do? I want to hear from you. All right, we are close here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got one more chunky bead to add. And you can see I'm going somewhat fast here with the stringing of the seed beads. So it can be done, guys. Probably a little faster than maybe you might be if you're not used to working with those little tiny beads. All right, so for my last section to string on, I'm just going to do a 15-0, an 8, a 15-0, an 8, a 15-0, and one more 8. Now, one other thing, I'm putting a bead cap on. I'm going to move these out of the way because when I start looking at this necklace, I don't want to lose a bead or beads, multiple beads. So here's our piece, and I just want to double check that everything is good, everything matches up. All of my sections of beads seem to be right in the world. So I kind of do this, match up the big beads. And again, look at the luminous check. Look at those little 15-0s are creating that little luminous magic between your larger seed beads. So, and this pendant is now the right proportion to your big chunky check beads. So the last thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to finish this necklace. I've got a gorgeous toggle. So I thought because we were doing a little wrapped little bail for our pendant, that a little twisted toggle would be beautiful. So this is also available and really fun. Now, if you've watched me any length of time, I love to use French wire to finish off my projects. You can use whatever you would like, but I enjoy working with French wire. It's a little coiled wire. It's typically used with silk. So finishing silk, knotted silk projects. So I'm going to take the piece that I cut off, which can vary. You usually need about 1.5 inches. I'm going to cut that in half. And then I need more crimps. So for this project, you need a couple of extra crimps because of that little section we added at the focal. So I've got my crimps here. And you know what I forgot, guys? So I didn't completely quality check. I forgot to add my spacers. So I did spacers on one side of the necklace towards the bottom and not so much on the other. So that's okay. But you can add them to your necklace, either all along those big beads or you can add them just to some of the focal beads on your necklace. So I always add for my toggle, I always add my bar first. So I don't know why, I just do. It's just something I do. I'm going to slide on my crimp and then slide on the French wire. Now in this case, the French wire is the same color as my beading wire. So it might be a little tough to see this. Also adding in a gold toggle. So this is a little hard to see. But I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to put that through my first bead at the end of my necklace, which is an 8-0. And I'm going to pull that down snug. And I kind of hold on to the wire down here next to the bead as I'm crimping. And it just helps me anchor things. And then I'm going to crimp in the first direction, turn the piece, crimp in the other direction, and then I'm going to pull that wire back, grab my cutters, my Xeron cutters, and cut off my excess. And the next thing I want to do is I can't show this very well, but I want to hold my piece up. So I'm holding it up here and letting gravity pull all those beads down. And I want to keep my piece all kind of coiled up. You don't want to crimp in a straight line. And then I'm going to add my other crimp on the other side, my French wire. French wire can be a little bit persnickety, and it's actually because my beading wire has a little bit of a rough edge there. So I'm going to trim that down. That's one way that you can make sure it will go through. And I got to get that guy on there. Come on, there we go. So it's hard to see that. Now this end needs a little bit of trimming. Okay, and now pull that down. The French wire can slide into your crimp, so just be aware of that. Grabbing my other side of my toggle and letting that come down, and then making sure everything is all snugged up. I'm going to take that beading wire, pull it through my crimp and that first 8/0, and then I'm going to pull my wire, and then I need to pull more to get that French wire to curve into a loop there. And these loops are a little bit exaggerated, but I wanted to be able to show you that technique and let you see how they look. But I would typically make mine a little bit smaller. Then you're going to take your crimpers and get that on there. Crimp one side, crimp the other side. Oops. Crimp that other side. Now, if you wanted, you could instead use a wire guardian. You could use some crimp covers to cover up your crimps. But this is our beautiful piece. And I'm going to take off the necklace I put on from the prior project. So look at the difference in this. Same concept. This is super crazy necklace, but look at the different ways you can use this same concept. Just a little something here. Here's a little like extra here. But this is just one way that you can make your design a little bit different, a little bit interesting. So I'm gonna, before I flip the camera around, I'm gonna put this on so you can see what it looks like on. And then we'll do the big reveal here. So, look at this necklace. Oh my gosh, I love this piece. Wow, look at that. So the luminous beads, the really cool, unique framed pendant. Now my pendant matches sizing wise what goes. So it's a bigger, more prominent pendant than it would be if you didn't have your little frame there. This little pendant looks kind of lonely and sad and small, but when we add that frame, it's got some oomph to it, and it ties back to all of the pieces and parts in this necklace. So I love how this came out. I hope you guys will try this. Maybe you've got some beads in your stash that don't quite match up to a pendant and you just want to do a little bit something different and you really want to use that pendant. this is a great way to do it. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. And Angela, I'm glad you like your seed beads. That's wonderful. And I see Carol loves big beads too. Yeah, so this is just a really fun project. Ooh, I don't know what I just did there. So I don't know what's going on with the color. Yikes. All right, I don't know what's going on with the color here, guys, but don't forget that we've got a bunch of activity this week. So we've got a special show tomorrow that I'm hosting. It's going to be a Tool Tuesday event. I'm not really sure what we're talking about. Maybe tools, I don't know. But we'll be talking about tools. Don't forget Julie's show on Wednesday, Becky's show on Thursday, and Sarah's show on Friday. And you can always come back and watch as many shows as you'd like. Binge watch all the shows. It will be so much fun to have you come back and just get more inspiration and ideas. So last but not least, don't forget to close out your carts, and don't forget to join the Serious Art Beaters Facebook page. If you're not already over there, that's a great place to hang out and share ideas and what you're making. And yeah, and also go to artbeads.com and sign up for the newsletter, because you'll get notification of everything that's going on and be notified of sales and that sort of thing. So until I see you tomorrow for our special show, have a great rest of your day, guys, and have a wonderful week of creating. We'll see you soon. Bye.